Happy New Year 2025, everyone. Welcome to the first recording of the year. And as I did last year, this year I'm starting with a recording when I'm introducing the new course environment that I will use in the new intakes happening later this year. For those of you who are not familiar with this project or with this environment, the name of the project is called OSBDET. More on this in a moment. But you can consider this project as a big data cloud environment that you can run locally. And that's really convenient because when you are learning these topics, you are going to remove all the complexity of starting with cloud technologies. So you will go straight to the point. You will have something that is up and running, is working, and you can start using the big data technologies right away. So throughout this recording, this video, I'm going to introduce the project a little bit further. I will explain the technologies that you can find inside the environment. I will explain the installation process for the two supported platforms, relying on these two virtualization tools, VirtualBox and UTM. And then I will take some baby steps on the environments just to prove that they are up and running and they are working properly. So let's move on with the project itself. So OSBDET stands for Open Source Big Data Educational Toolkit. So that means you're going to find a bunch of big data technologies that are used by most of the companies out there. And it happens that these technologies are deployed in a way that will not scale if you're dealing with loads of use cases or with big data sets. So you cannot use it for big data projects that are close to real projects, right? So you have to consider this environment as a playground where you're going to use it for the labs to complement the theory and to work on the group assignments. So this is what this core is designed for. If you want, you could use it as an environment to work on proof of concept or MVPs, and at some point when the project is growing, maybe you need to move into an enterprise class environment, such as the environments that you can create, you can spin up on cloud providers. So this is what the project is all about. When it comes to the technologies that you will find inside the environment, these are all the technologies included. So classified by the different stages in the big data pipeline that I usually explain throughout my courses. And this year I've introduced two additional components. So Kestra, which is all about workflow manager or scheduler or jobs orchestration. So these kind of things where basically you're going to make everything work together by defining the different flows, right? And open metadata, which is something I found out some months back, and it's all about data governance, data quality, and data observability. Something in common you will find across all these technologies is that all of them are open source. So that means you can download them and use them for free. Some of them have some enterprise versions where you can have some additional features and support from the software vendor itself, which is developing these technologies. But you will find a community version, open source version that you can download, that you can use to learn all these topics that we are going to go through, or I will explain throughout my courses. These technologies are usually running on different computers or cluster of computers. So that means they're going to be able to leverage all the resources from many different computers. That's the way big data technologies scale over these large data sets or large amount of users accessing the technology itself. But the reality is we are going to put everything in one single computer, and actually it's going to be a virtual computer. So as you might be realizing, we are just going the other way around. So rather than having loads of resources that we can use from these technologies to make them work at a scale, so we are just simplifying the deployment model just to make them work on one single virtual machine and to start using them. So that means we cannot leverage all the potential in these tools to deal with a lot of data. It's just to use them from the functional standpoint to learn how to use, NiFi, Spark, MongoDB, MinIO, which is an object storage. So just to go through the concepts, the foundations, and then when you need to use it at the scale, you need to use all these technologies at the scale, then you will use a proper environment. All right, so The motivation behind this course environment is just to have something that I can use to complement the theory. So it's something that I'm using at IE as part of my modern data architecture for big data classes. And as you can expect, as everything inside the course environment is open source, this project itself is open source. So this is the GitHub repository where you will be able to find all the scripts that are needed to create this course environment. So you clone this project, you use this script, which is called OSBDET builder. You need to set it up in first place. You provide the environment and that this course environment is running on. So basically the operating system. So Debian 12 is the only operating system supported at the moment. And then you have two types of architectures. AMD 64 if you are running on Intel processor, or ARM 64 if you are running an Apple Silicon processor. And once you go through this setup process, you're going to be able to start building all the different modules with the different technologies. Okay, so that's something that you can easily do if you wanted to have a course environment version with less modules that I'm shipping in the virtual machines. And yeah, that will be the process. And additionally to that, to these modules in here, there is something I introduced some years back, which is called recipes. So recipes are gonna help me introduce new scripts, small scripts that are going to install additional technology. So at the moment you can install Terraform, Visual Studio Code, and Hugo, which is basically a recipe to install Golang, and Hugo, which is a platform to build static websites. And so you will be able to run this or build or cook these recipes very easily. And this is very easy to extend. So it's very easy to create new recipes. And so you will be able to expand your course environment by adding new recipes. Obviously, this will take a while. And so that's the reason of building this course environment for you all. So you will have a couple of images that you can download. This is something we are going to cover in the installation process. So you will have one image that you will use on those computers running the Apple Silicon processor, so using UTM as the virtualization software. And this one is used on Windows machine or MacBook laptops, which are using the Intel processor, Intel-based processor, right? So this is going to be using VirtualBox, and that's the image that you need to download. So you don't need to build it yourself. So that's good. All right, so as an open source project, no guarantees at all. So the only thing that I can guarantee here is that the labs that we're gonna go through, or I usually go through in my classes, will work, because I'm testing them out before releasing the images. And so any other thing that you're trying to run here is going to receive a best effort support, right? It's an open source project, so that means you are more than welcome to contribute. And actually there are some contributions from some students and from some other professors. So yeah, more than happy to get some new contributions. And as probably you're realizing, if you check previous videos, previous recordings, you will see that the project is evolving over time. And the goal is basically having this course environment up to date. So using all these technologies up to date. So actually Spark, in this course environment, you will see Spark 3.5.4, which is the latest and greatest version of Spark. And that's the goal, to have new releases with the new versions where you can leverage new functionality. So the installation process is very straightforward. But before you can start it up, and you need to identify the type of computer that you have. So you need to understand if you have an Intel compatible processor, that means Windows, or an old MacBook, or if you're using a new MacBook running or using the Apple Silicon processor. If you are having a MacBook laptop and you are unsure which processor you have, you can find out by using this About This Mac utility. So you start it up and then you look into the chip and you have something like Apple M1, M2, M3. then that means you have an Apple Silicon processor. Therefore, you need to follow a very particular journey that I will explain in a moment. In any case, independently if you are using a computer with the Intel processor or Apple Silicon processor, you are suggested to have 16 gigs of RAM. If you have a laptop with 8 gigs, it might work, but it might happen that the laptop itself is very slow or at some point is not responsive at all. When it comes to hard disk, so it's recommended that you have half terabyte or 500 gigabytes of disks, and this is just how big the disk is. But what is most important here is that you have space available, and you are going to need at least 50 gigs of space just to deploy the virtual machine and make it work. So if you don't have these requirements, it might happen that the labs are not working out, or any test that you want to go through, it doesn't work at all. So you need to be sure that at least you get these requirements just to be in the safe zone and being able to execute all the labs. When it comes to all laptops, so that means you are using an Intel processor. So the Intel processor should be an i5, i7, or bigger than that. I believe i9 is an option as well. And if you're running an AMD version, so it should be this Ryzen 5 and 7. Okay, so and they should be let's say they shouldn't be that old. So if it's older than four years, so probably you have some issues. So the processor will struggle to run everything at the right speed, and so probably that's going to be a problem. Okay, so we go to the point where we need to decide the journey to follow. So if you are using an Intel-based computer running Windows or running Mac, then you need to follow the VirtualBox journey. And if you have an Apple Silicon processor, then you need to follow the UTM journey. So at this point, we are going to stop, and then I will move into the proper environments. All right, it's time to install OSBDET 2025 Release 1 on an Intel processor-based computer. So that means you're going to use VirtualBox as the virtualization technology or virtualization tool, and this is the file you have to download. This is a big file, so that means it's going to take a while. It will take 20-30 minutes depending on how fast your network is. And in order to make it work, you need to have VirtualBox. I've used VirtualBox 7.1.4, so I believe this is the latest and greatest version at the time of making this recording, and this is the version that I suggest to have available on your computer. I've tested this out on Windows 10. It should work on Windows 11 as well, and I've tested this on Mac OS Monterey. So I've tested this in a MacBook and in Windows machine. So it should work in your computer independently of the type of operating system you are running. So once you have VirtualBox up and running, and if you don't have it already, you can go straight into virtualbox.org. This is again an open source project that you can download for free, and you can go straight into the download section to download it and install it. There you go. 7.1.4 is the latest and greatest at the time of making this video. If for some reason when you are downloading this software there is a newer version, if you want to stick to this version, you need to scroll down and click this link over here, and this is going to take you to all the versions available. So if you want to download an older version, you can basically go straight into that version, and then you can download the installer for Windows machines or the installer for Mac OS, those based on Intel host. Don't install this one if you have an Apple Silicon processor, because this is going to do something different to what we need. So use VirtualBox for Windows machines or for Mac OS when your laptop has an Intel processor. So again, if for some reason there is newer version, and so probably the 7.14 is going to show up here at some point. So go straight into the download section and get this version. All right, so once you have it installed and you have this file already downloaded, it's time to make it work. So let me start VirtualBox over here. And in my case, it's gonna be empty, so probably yours is gonna be empty as well. There you go. I already downloaded the file. The big file is over here, 10 gigs, as you're realizing. And so I'm gonna start the import process. So you need to click this icon over here. You need to find the file that you downloaded. So probably it's going to be in downloads. Click it here, open the file. Next, you can review all the details of this virtual environment. So these are the resources that are allocated or are going to be allocated to the course environment: 2 CPUs, 4 gigs of RAM. So that's why you should have a 16 gigs computer. So and that's going to give you extra space to run some other application. If you have an 8 gigs of RAM computer, it should work, but probably it's going to be a bit limited. So you should close all the application before you can run the course environment. But as you can see, there are going to be some extra gigabytes of RAM for other applications. If you have 16 gigs or more than that, you might increase this number. So this number is going to be critical just to run more jobs and to run more frameworks at the same time. So you have 16 gigs. Probably this value, 8 gigs of RAM for the course environment, is going to be good. So once you are done, click finish, and that's going to start the import process. This will take some time, and here is where you might face an error because you don't have enough space on your computer, on your hard disk. And so if after some seconds or after some minutes you get an error message, that means you need to make some room and give it another try. So that's the only way to make it work. Excellent. So once the process is done, you will find this new element in the virtual machines list, and you are ready to go. And so the way I suggest to start it up is by right-clicking and displaying this contextual menu, go to Start and click Headless Start. This is going to start the course environment without displaying the user interface. So you will not have the black window, and you will see the messages that you would use in the or would see in the black window here, in this small black window in here. That's enough. We are not going to interact with the terminal, so that's something we don't need, because actually everything in this course environment can be accessed by accessing the web interface. So if you scroll down, you will get to this link, which is actually the link to the course environment's web interface. So you will have one tile per technology included. These 2 tiles here are enabled by default. So Jupyter Lab is started from the very beginning, and that might be the entry point when we are doing some data analysis. In every tile you will have this icon, information icon. If you click it, you will have more info about the framework, the technology, the tool itself, how to start it up and set it down manually, just in case the user interface is not working out properly. In the case of Jupyter Lab, you don't have to do anything, so it's going to be up and running all the time. And then you have access to, or the links to access the user interface, which is something you can access through the UI icon that you have in the tile itself. If you need to provide credentials, passwords, usernames and stuff, that's something you will have here as well. Links to the project website, and so you can explore the technologies further. So that's what you can expect here. So again, tile is going to tell you what the technology is all about, information, access the user interface, and then this switch to start it up and set it down. This one cannot be stopped, so it's going to be up and running all the time. If you click the UI icon, you will get into Jupyter. There you go. So here you can start creating folders. If you want to access the terminal, I suggest to use this terminal in here, which is going to be easier to use than using the original terminal, which is it's handy, you can use it, but yeah, this is much more convenient for sure. And there you go. So imagine that you want to use NiFi. You need to switch it on by clicking this icon over here. The first time you run NiFi will take a while because it needs to create all the repositories, and that takes a while. It needs to initialize repositories and stuff. So you click the UI icon, it might happen that nothing is showing up. So you need to wait some seconds, probably some minutes, and by refreshing every some seconds, then you will have it ready. So this computer is an old computer. This is running an Intel processor, i7 if I'm not wrong, but it has like it's 9 years old, so that's why it's a little bit slow. If yours is an old computer, so it might happen that it takes a while, but eventually will run, and you will have access to NiFi and the rest of the components. Let's give it some more seconds, and then it should be ready. So we will see the whole user interface, NiFi's canvas, and all the icons to leverage the whole functionality. There you go. So yeah, it's ready to be used. So let me give it another try. There you go. And once you're done, yeah, you should shut it down. That's going to release the resources used by NiFi, and that's going to make the whole environment faster and your computer as well. So actually you try to access NiFi one more time, there you go, it's not there. So these are all the technologies already introduced. So imagine you want to use Grafana, look into what you have in here. This is the way to start it up and set it down manually, just in case the switch doesn't work. This is the URL you need to use to access this Grafana deployment. By default, is using admin and admin's password, so that's the default credentials that you're gonna have every time you install Grafana. First time you access, you're gonna be asked for a new password. If I were you, I would leave admin as the default password. That's going to make things easier. And that's pretty much it. So let me switch it on, and you will see it in action. There you go. Let's switch it on. And Grafana usually starts very quickly. Let's see if this happens in this computer as well. So it doesn't look like that. Let's refresh. There you go. Here it is. Then we're going to be asked for a password, username and password. I'm going to use admin. Not going to save it. New password is going to be admin again. Save it, and there we go. So we have Grafana up and running, and we can start using it. We can change the theme, so the theme is much better to me. That's pretty much it. Once we are done, we can close it. And once you are done, you can shut it down. You should shut it down to release all the resources and use your computer for some other tasks. You have two options. You can click this icon, this button in here. This is going to switch it off. Or if you want to do it manually, you can right click, and actually this is what I highly suggest, stop ACPI shutdown. So as you're realizing, we are not interacting with the black box, with the black window, and never, basically we are not using it. And we are using the user interface or this web interface or the VirtualBox manager all the time, which is going to be much easier to do, and you will avoid making mistakes which could potentially make your course environment unavailable. So at some point, if you don't use it properly, it might get corrupted, and then you need to start from scratch, which is not the end of the world, but definitely something that is going to deserve some more time on setting it up again, and probably that's something you don't want to go through. That's all. All right, it's time to install OSBDET 2025 Release 1 on an Apple processor-based computer. That means you need to download this file, this big file. 9.6 gigs means, it will take a while to be downloaded. So expect 10 to 20 minutes to get this file into your computer. So that will depend on how fast the network is. And to make it work, you need to have UTM installed on your computer. I've used this version, so my suggestion is that you use exactly the same version. And UTM itself is an open source software project, and this is the GitHub repository for the project, github.com UTM app UTM. And if you go straight into the releases section, you will see that at the time of making this recording, 4.6.4 is the latest and greatest. So once you find the release you are interested in, you can scroll down and get to the section where you can download the installers. And this is the one you have to use. UTM DMG is the installer that you have to download. 234 megs is not a big file, so it will take some few minutes, 2-3 minutes. And once you have it installed, you need to download this, or you need to have this file already downloaded, because we did it before. And then I already did it, so I have it here just to make this video faster. Once you have the file downloaded, the only thing you have to do is double click in it, and it will take a while. It's just extracting the course environment out of this compressed file. So you will see that the final size of this file, this course environment, is going to be bigger than the compressed version. So this zip file is something that you can remove if you want, but my suggestion is, if you have space, enough space to keep it, because if at some point your course environment gets corrupted or it's not working properly, you can remove it and you can start from scratch. So the course environment is designed with that approach in mind. So use it, break it, and once it's broken, you can start from scratch. Okay, so as you can see, this is bigger than the original file. And my suggestion again is that you move it out of the folder where you downloaded the file, because by default it's going to be in downloads. It's very likely that if you uncompress the file on this folder, probably you remove it by mistake, and that's going to put you into troubles. If you're working on labs or you're working on a group assignment and you remove it, you will lose everything. So you might want to put it into documents, for instance. So it's a good place to have this course environment, and then you will be ready to move on. So the next step, once you have the course environment uncompressed, is to start UTM. We start UTM, you should have something like this. If you already used it, you might have another entry here, that's fine. And what we're gonna do next, so probably the easiest way to make it work is by dragging and dropping the item on UTM itself. So you will have something like this, and that means it's all up and running. So if you scroll down, you will see all the details around this course environment. 4 gigs are going to be used by the course environment. That's why it's really recommended to have 16 gigs on your laptop, otherwise you're going to run out of space very quickly. If you have 8, probably it's going to be slow, but the course environment is going to take just 4 gigs. So there will be some additional gigabytes of RAM for the rest of the applications. If you have 16 gigs or more than that, something that you could do just to make it work much better is to increase the amount of memory. And that's something you can do very easily here. So you scroll down, I think it's over here. No, it's not over here. It's over here, There you go. So rather than having 4096 megs, which is 4 gigs, you could have something like 8192. This is going to give you 8 gigs, and that's going to make your course environment work much better. Okay, so that's optional. By default, use 4 gigs. All the labs should work with 4 gigs, but this is up to you. So once you adjusted everything accordingly, you can start it up, and you will see something like this. Black window, this menu over here, and then this will start it up. At some point you will see something like this, and this text is telling you that everything is up and running. We are not going to use this black window, black box. We are going to minimize everything. You can minimize this one, you can minimize this one as well. And the way we're going to use the course environment is by using the web interface. And the web interface is something that you can find at the bottom of the release. So this link will take you straight into the web interface of the course environment. And these are all the technologies that I mentioned at the beginning of the recording. So every single tile in here is going to tell you which technology this tile is all about. You're going to be able to go straight into some additional information of every single technology in here. So what the technology is all about, project website, how to make it work on the course environment. Jupyter is something that is up and running constantly. Spark pretty much the same, so there is no daemon. It's enabled, you can use it right away, but the rest of the technologies needs to be started by using this switch icon in here. So the switch, the information icon, and the UI icon is going to open the user interface of those technologies. So Jupyter is up and running. For the moment you start the environment up, so you can start using it right away. You have access to a terminal window, you need it. You can start creating folders, so all those things are going to be there. And the rest of the environments need to be started up. So let's imagine that we want to use NiFi. You need to switch it on. The first time you start NiFi app, it will take some minutes because it's creating all the folders and it's initializing all the repositories, so it will take a while. So you click the UI icon, it might happen that it's not up and running. But once it's up and running, yeah, you will see that it's giving you access to the user interface very, very quickly. Once you're done, of course, you need to switch it off, and it will take some seconds, but at some point, as you can see, it's no longer available. And pretty much the same with all the technology. So imagine that you want to use this lovely visualization tool, which is Grafana. So here you have some information on how to start it up and shut it down manually, just in case the switch doesn't work. What is the URL? So actually this is the URL that is used by the UI icon. And by default you have the admin password, which is the default password when you install Grafana. And once you access for the first time, you're going to be asked to change the password, so you can leave it as it is. This is not critical, so yes, in order to avoid forgetting the password, leave it as it is, and that's going to be fine. So let's give it a try. There you go, admin. So admin, there you go. Don't update, new password, admin, admin. And there you go. So we are in, and we can start building lovely visualization. We can change the theme if we want. This is the theme that I really love. And once you're done, switch it off, and that's it. So Grafana is no longer available. So probably we need to close it and give it another try. There you go. And once you are done, you need to switch it off. You need to shut it down, and you can do it by clicking this icon. Okay, as you're realizing, you don't need to interact with the black box, the black window, and you can do everything by using this web interface. So once you're done, click it, and actually if we go straight into UTM, let me see, yeah, you will realize that it's no longer running, it's stopped. So actually, if I go straight into, yeah, this course environment is stopped and you can close it. All right, so that's been everything when it comes to installing the course environment on Apple processor-based computers, and the baby steps just to validate that everything is up and running and is properly deployed and installed. If you made it work, congratulations and enjoy the course environment. I hope you managed to install the course environment on your laptop independently on the platform that you were using, and you were able to take the baby steps. And I hope you enjoy the course environment using it on labs, group assignments, personal projects, proof of concepts, whatever you want to use it for. And if at some point you feel like contributing to the project by sharing ideas or introducing new technologies, new configurations, feel free to do so. I would be more than happy to see that contribution on the project. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in next recording. Bye.